Hello and welcome everyone to this month's LinkedIn LoveIn Live, where we are shining a light on the world's leading B2B social media platform, that is, of course, LinkedIn. And today I am being joined by Alison Hale, who is a transformational pricing expert, to talk about sales conversations and why we need to have them. Now, obviously, we don't have conversations on LinkedIn per se. For me, LinkedIn is all about, having a great profile. It's about getting known and people being able to recognize you and get to know you, with the ultimate aim of actually driving people off LinkedIn and into a conversation. So for me, LinkedIn is there very much to help us facilitate those conversations and take conversations off LinkedIn, instead of, if you're anything like me, hiding behind LinkedIn messages, which is a bit of a tendency I have. And some people say to me, oh, can we have a conversation? It's about picking up the phone instead. Anyway, so I'm really delighted Alison is here to help us understand, how we can use simple human connection to shift the way we see sales, which I think is important, so that it feels aligned rather than pushy. So hello and welcome, Alison.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here again.
I know, fantastic. Thank you so much you could join us. So just before we start, if you are new to these LinkedIn Love-ins and wondering what the heck they are short, bite-sized LinkedIn learnings over lunch. And each month I'm joined by a guest expert to share their expertise on subjects that help to support your LinkedIn activity and your business results in this case. So I do like to make them as interactive as possible. So if you do have any comments, please put them, or questions, should I say, please put them in the comments box on the event page, and we will be able to ask Alison those questions. Okay, so of course I like to start with a bit of an audience icebreaker. So I want to understand, how do you feel about sales conversations? Do you think, if you're okay with them, that's great. Hopefully you can still learn something from today. Or do you feel a little bit more uncomfortable with them? So let us know. Do you find sales conversations uncomfortable? Right, so let's get started. Alison. So I think for me, the best place to start is understanding what actually are sales conversations and why are they so important?
Well, it's a good question, Judy, because some people say, oh, I'm fine with sales conversations. And they're thinking about the conversation when the client is buying. And of course, we all love a conversation where the client comes to us and say, by the way, I found you. I want to work with you. How much can I pay you? Boom.
Yeah.
So I don't think
I love those conversations.
So we're not talking about those conversations. The ones that I find people, particularly women, seem to hate or feel uncomfortable about are the ones where they're hoping for a sale and they're starting the conversation off. So I suppose what I mean by a sales conversation could be any conversation that leads to sale, any conversation that could end up in the client buying. So it could be what you call a discovery conversation. It could be a catch up or a coffee chat. It could have any of those names, but it could lead to sales.
Yes, I love that. Do you know what, Alison? I hadn't really thought about the distinguishing those sorts of conversations, because if somebody's already made it, which is where I think LinkedIn really plays, because that if they've already know who you are and like what you do and trust you, that conversation where they come to you and go, I really like you and want to spend some money with you, that's a lovely conversation. That's not really a sales conversation, is it, per se? That's just, all right, let's get started. How can I help you? But yes, that's a really great distinction. I love that. But of course, they're so important. Sorry.
And I was going to say, I think the other thing is an inquiry call can be a sales conversation, because quite often, if you do get an inquiry call, or even, mostly these days they come by in written form. But if somebody was to ring up and say, I've got one of my senior managers and they need some coaching, or I've got this problem and I need your services. How much do you charge? that's the kind of thing that would happen. And that's why we have, as the provider, as the supplier, we have to be very careful how we answer. In the old days, when I was new in my business, I would answer with my price, my daily price or my hourly rate or wherever it was. And I now know that's completely the wrong thing to do. So these conversations can come out of an inquiry, or very often they're the ones that we lead on. And that's, I think, why people say to me, I love my work, but I hate selling. I hate selling it. And what they're thinking about is making contact, reaching out to somebody who they think needs their services, wants their services, or whatever. But it's being the instigator of the sales conversation, which I think is what makes people hide behind their friend LinkedIn. Yeah,
absolutely. And I love that. Totally, that's exactly it. It's that I would, I'm going to say I would never. I generally don't instigate them. They've usually come to me first requesting a conversation. So that is really, really interesting.
Well,
and it's really, it's interesting what you said, because there are some people on here who are excellent at what they do. And they, that question that we said, Ellie here, she's brilliant, at marketing and PR and stuff, but her sales makes her feel icky. So, totally that description, what you've just described there. Same with Kate here. She gets the ick as soon as I open my mouth. Yes, so I go, and freeze. But we'll come to that in a minute, won't we? Owen is no problem. So Owen, there we go. We'll see how
well, you see,
if you get anything from this.
It's interesting. Some people don't have a problem, but some people do. We're not all the same. But why are they important? And this links back to one of your previous LoveIns, which is that it's actually the conversation that leads to the client buying. It's normally, even if you start off with a lot of to and fro in written form, when they're actually going to buy from you, you're going to want to have a conversation so they can ask questions, so you can dig deeper, etc., etc. So that's important to realize. Real conversations are the things that lead to the actual buying. And the other thing is that, of course, you get so much more out of a real conversation. You can read the face, you can change direction if you realize that things are going a bit, getting a bit scrambled, or something's going slightly wrong. You can change in the moment. Whereas if you're writing, you can't, it's there.
Yeah, exactly. So so the LinkedIn LoveIn that I did last month with Chris Wilson about the importance of your voice exactly highlights that, isn't it? Because written things can be misinterpreted as well, and also takes longer, doesn't it? Because you've then got to wait for a reply. And then I get, one of the issues that I have is that people don't get back to you. And actually, if you pick up the phone and talk to them, you're going to get a quicker response, aren't you?
And that's actually, that leads into what we were going to talk about, which was why people feel uncomfortable. Do you want to go for that now, or
absolutely. Yeah. What is it about sales? Why do I have this reluctance to certainly instigate conversations?
Well, I think part of
I do wait for people to come to me, definitely.
Yeah, and I think it's part of it is because of that silence. You can instigate, and then you get a silence, and then you start interpreting that silence as being, oh, they don't like me, oh, they're annoyed, oh, they think I'm pushy, oh, they think this, they think the other. So I think it's often the fact that if you start, it's that the ball is no longer in your court, and it's much more comfortable to us when the ball has been thrown to us and show that there's an interest, So I think you're very lucky if you always get people saying, can I have a conversation? And it's interesting that you say that you often hide behind the written word. So maybe you reply with something. And so I think it's this silence which is worrying, but what's behind the way we interpret the silence? I think there's a lot of fear there. I've got a new client who is telling me she's made a long list of contacts, people to contact. and she's practicing. She's got all their LinkedIn details and all the rest of it, but she hasn't actually reached out. So what's stopping her? Yeah. I think what stops a lot of us is fear of rejection, fear of being thought pushy. I think it's different for women than for men. I mean, I know that my son, who runs his own business, he goes out there making contact, reaching out, etc. That's how he gets his business when there's a quiet time. But a lot of us women, we've been socialized, brought up to be nice, to not be greedy, to be modest, to be likable, and I think that goes against this feeling of oh my God, if they think I'm pushy, that's the end of the world. They won't like me. So I think there's a lot of fear of that kind of rejection. It's also, you feel vulnerable, don't you? Because you've started something, and if you are in a conversation, you quite likely have to deal with something that you're not expecting. You're vulnerable to spontaneity. You know, what if they ask me this and I say the wrong thing? Maybe that's another reason that you hide behind the written word. Judy, what do you think?
Yeah, you know, it's so interesting, because I think that's the thing. You know, it's there's somebody, Kate Bacon here, has said exactly that. You know, it's about being prepared, and I think if you're prepared, that really helps. But I do have a question, and actually Sally Waddington actually has the same question that I wanted to ask. So you were talking about your client there who's made this list of people that done all the research and got all their LinkedIn details. She then really struggles with making that initial approach. So I would message them on LinkedIn. If I'm not connected, I connect first. I would then message them on LinkedIn. You know, so what is that initial approach? Are we saying that we go straight in to give them a call, you know, by not bypassing LinkedIn per se, but, you know,
well, I think quite a lot. Sorry, I think quite a lot of us have made our initial, found our initial link through LinkedIn. But sometimes it's getting back to a client who you used to work with, and you worked with well, you know, they appreciated you, and it's always quicker to get new business from someone who already knows you. So sometimes it's going back to somebody, you have their email. But personally speaking, I always, as soon as there's some interest on a LinkedIn little chat, I ask for their email and say, I really prefer contacting by email. And because, quite frankly, I spend far too much time on social media if I go there too often. So if they come onto my email, we can sort it out that way. And then I suggest, well, let's find a time for a Zoom chat or Teams or something like that. And then we're into who manages the conversation.
Yeah, I love that, Alison. Yeah. And
when I started off, I used to think a Zoom chat or a coffee chat meant just that. And we would just chat. At the end of half an hour, I thought, well, where did that get us? You know, we haven't got anywhere. I got to the sales part, was somehow parked so far away because I was embarrassed at looking pushy or anything, that it didn't move anything forward either for me or for the prospective client. So what I show people who work with me is I show them how to structure a conversation so that when they have got the Zoom chat there, or the clarity call or the exploration call or whatever we're calling it, you actually have something structured that moves you on towards finding out, does this person have a problem you can help them with, or not now, perhaps later, or, you know, what is the context really?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's very, very, very helpful, but it still doesn't help that person. Was it Sally who said, how do I get started? Well, one of the problems is that we can spend so much time preparing. It's always less scary to polish our preparation than it is to actually make the reach out. And I think that's why you know, these people have a long list of potential contacts, but they don't actually make the first move, because it's easier to polish something than to actually get out and do it.
And just do it. Yeah, absolutely. So important, isn't it? Because as you say, we need to understand and qualify, is this somebody we can work with? So that's really answered Sally's question about, you know, what sales conversations look like. So thank you very much for that, Sally. I hope that's helped. It certainly helped me. And if you do have any questions for Alison, please, you know, do put them do let us know in the comments box, and we can get to those as well. Okay, so how then are we going to get over these barriers, this fear of rejection and vulnerability, and, you know, the fear of spontaneity?
I thought you might ask that, so I've prepared myself. I've got a few things to say. Well, the first thing is it's practice. Because the more you do it, the more you realize that actually it's not that bad, and it's just thinking about it that is the worst thing. So practice is the first thing. Getting practiced with the right kind of conversation, having a structure for it, knowing what to start it with, knowing how long to do the kind of rapport building at the beginning, and what question to ask to just move it on. And then how to get also at the end of a very good conversation, where there's obviously something that you can help with, how do you actually move into the sales bit? You know, do you just say, well, that was very nice, I'll call you again? Or do you have the confidence to say, well, shall we go for it? Something like that. So there's that. And then there's the accountability, isn't there? You know, if you've got nobody who really cares whether you do it today or tomorrow or next month or next year, are you really going to make those reach outs? I think that's super important. So I have a short program which is totally based on helping people to get over this hump, and we include confidence, because I think that's one of the big things, you know, your feeling about your worth. Do you have something that's actually worth people knowing about? And so we look at that. We look at what actually are the results you help people get. And when you're really sure about that, then you feel more confident picking up the phone or saying, how about a chat? How about a get together? I'd love to see if I can help.
Yeah, so once you understand the value, and you know that what you do brings great results for your potential clients, that confidence in itself is great, isn't it? I'm assuming, because then that just overcomes. So it's understanding your value and what you deliver. And the other thing I was thinking as well, when you were talking about practice, is there something about removing yourself from the outcome? So like, okay, I'm just going to go in and do this, and I'm not going to be worried whether they say yes or no. So that the pressure almost of going, I need to make a sale, perhaps. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think that's very important. And I'm thinking what your if you change your mindset from thinking selling to thinking helping, or I've changed my word for, you know, the first step for me in actually making those reach outs recently was to make myself a spreadsheet, and it had something like sales prospects or something as a title, and I just hated that. I hate the idea of a spreadsheet anyway, and sales prospects, all that just sounded too like a car salesman, you know. So I changed that to relationship building. And relationships, I find that is a very positive vibe for me. So if you can change the words and remove sales and say want to buy, or change prospecting to relationship building, use the language to help you feel encouraged and interested and up for it.
Do you know what, Alison? Absolutely, totally love that, because I think I'm not a natural salesperson. That's not my job. When I was employed as a marketing manager, I worked with the sales team. I'd give them the leads. they would then go and have the sales conversation. So that would, you know, and I think, you know, for me, it is about, if you change the language and see it differently, it just gives you that different perspective, doesn't it? I absolutely like that. So it's about, you know, who can I help today?
Yeah. And there's one other thing that I was thinking of that, gosh, it's just leapt out of my mind again. Oh, it was about confidence. What was it I was going to say? Oh, yes. While you're intending to reach out to people and not doing it, it really bruises your self-esteem. You think, oh, I should be doing this. I ought to be doing this. I've made my list. Why aren't I doing this? What's wrong with me that I'm not doing this? So by the time you actually get to want to pick up the phone or write an invitation email to somebody, you're feeling pretty bad about yourself. And the whole thing about doing this is you want to show yourself in your best light. So you want to be feeling confident, and you want to have a good self-concept. You want to feeling your self-worth. So all this not doing it is very undermining for your confidence. So, and that's why I work with a coach in order to do this kind of thing, because I find I need help in actually dealing with these undermining feelings of not doing what I ought to be doing.
Yeah. And that's so interesting, isn't it? Because that shows the importance of having a coach, isn't it? Whatever level you are, is to help you move and grow forward, It's really interesting, actually, because Gail here, talking about value, this is what she, you know, Gail's fine with conversations, but not when it comes to talking about money. And again, that's another limiting mindset, isn't it? You know, again, it's about understanding our value, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And again, it's about being really clear on your results, being really clear on the value that you give people, knowing your worth, being able to access those feelings. And that's, again, why I think we can't do it alone. I think if you're working on your own as solopreneur, you really do need somebody who's going to keep you accountable, keep you believing in yourself, give you some phrases to use, give you structures, etc. I couldn't do my work. I've run my own company for nearly 30 years, and I always have a coach. I didn't always have a coach, but when I don't have one, I soon realize why I need one.
Yeah, absolutely. If we want to be growing our business, it's the mindset. Realistically, when we're looking at this, it's all mindset, isn't it?
Well, a lot of
it's not actually, we can't sell, it's because we're afraid of it.
Yeah, and also how to do it. You know, talking about money, there are ways to talk about it, and you need to practice that as well. You need to practice.
Yeah, you need to practice saying it out loud. Yeah,
saying your pricing.
I love this question as well from Ellie, which is, should we ask them what their budget is? You know.
Yes, I would always ask what their budget is. And funnily enough, somebody recently, they don't always tell you, and they often say something which you realize is quite unrealistic. Somebody recently said, always modest for us. So that really didn't tell me, didn't tell me anything at all. And I've had people before say, well, the budget is about, you know, $2,500 or something. And I've said, well, I'm afraid it's going to be more than that if you want lasting results. Do you think you'll be able to expand your budget? So I think, yes, that's a very useful thing to say.
I think that's a really good thing, because if you go, I have done that before, and they go, what's your budget? And then they do say something, and I'm going like, oh, you know, I do find it like, how do I respond to that? So it's quite an interesting, but again, back to value, isn't it? So yeah, okay, I understand your budget is this, but like you say, but if you want also, these sorts of results.
Yeah, and also it's a confidence thing, isn't it? If you have the confidence to say, well, for what you've described to me, the context you've described to me, it's going to take longer than, you know, than 3 weeks or whatever you've given for it. And so to have the confidence to say, well, in my experience, working on what you've described is going to take X amount of time, or it's going to cost you more in the region of, and you can give, you know, ballpark figures, which is more in the region of what you want, what honestly, what your service is worth.
Yeah, and also it's so important to understand what their pain points are and how you solve them, isn't it? And this is why we come back to having the conversations, isn't it? Because you ask those questions. What is it they're struggling with? And how can, then how you can help them. So then it's less, we don't really want to be getting into a pricing conversation at any point, really, do we, as such?
Well, not till the end. And that's why when people write to you or say, what's your day rate? Even though it feels somehow rude to not answer a question, you have to wait until you know more, because otherwise, how can I give you a realistic price until I know a bit more about, what it is? So that's why we need to have a structure we feel comfortable with, but a structure that also is useful to the prospective client.
Lovely, lovely. I've got another great question here from Kate, and who says, she can't stand when somebody she's just connected with immediately sends them a message selling to them, and this whole connect and pitch thing is obviously totally wrong. And for me, LinkedIn is very much about networking and building relationships, and it's all about, for me, that's where you spend all your time on LinkedIn, because when you first connect and meet people on LinkedIn, this is an answer for you, Kate, is that, they're cold. When that first connection, when you connect with people, they don't know you, you don't know them. And there's a whole process then of warming them up on LinkedIn. So you're right, absolutely, you would never connect and pitch, in my opinion, definitely. But then, so it is then, how do we go and build the relationships? Now, I know how I would do this on LinkedIn. I have various activities, getting people to know who I am. Obviously, that's posting, doing LinkedIn lives, going out speaking, things like that. But also, it's then, for me, following key people who look like my potential prospects, and going in and engaging on their posts. So they start to see me popping up, and the familiarity and build relationships that way. So, it's, for me, LinkedIn is not a numbers game. You can't go in and have the people who go in and pitch on LinkedIn are using an automated service that allows them to send loads of messages and just see what sticks. But LinkedIn, as Alison has said, it's all about relationship building. So I'm just conscious of time, and I know that you've got a fantastic download that people can have if they are interested in it. So what I wanted to do, kind of end with, Alison, is, what are the sort of 3 steps that people can take today? And I think actually there's been loads of light bulbs for me already going off. But, if somebody was like just on their first step of doing this, is there anything, sort of tips that you could give them to help them have better sales conversations?
Well, I put this together just recently, especially for this audience. And I'm suggesting 3 areas for you to look at. And this is really kind of foundational. It's ways that you can build your self-esteem, your self-concept, and really get started on, I've got something about pricing and numbers on this PDF. I've got several things about confidence, and I've got several things about results and expertise. So I think you'll find it really useful. But what I did want to say, that for Kate, who was saying these people who sell on LinkedIn, I really hate that. You've only just connected, yes, and they send you an offer to something. And when I've connected with somebody who I think sounds really useful, or I really want to get to know, then I suggest we find a time to have a chat on Zoom or Teams. And that is going into a real conversation almost straight away. And we sort that out on email. So I quickly get them off LinkedIn, where it's all about, well, for me, very often a long silence, because they've got so many other people that they're linking with. So I think to get onto a coffee chat as soon as possible. And then, Kate, and then the temptation is to just go into chat, which is where you need your structure. so that your chat is useful to both of you. But going back to my my freebie here, do contact me on my work email. I'll send you this, and if you want to go further with me, you can book a chat with me on my Calendly and join my Confidence Sales Reset to go further and land in a really successful place, because I would like to help you all to give up your hiding under the written word and start to really enjoy the real conversations that get
and
you
own our expertise and be confident in what we deliver and the value we provide, and the fact that we're out there helping people who we know we can help. So I love that. We have put Alison's...
may I just say, Judy, before your audience goes away thinking that I'm a sales trainer, I'm not. But I do. But for all of us who own our own businesses, we won't go anywhere if we're not making sales. And it's conversations that make the sales for you. So that's what I really want to leave you with.
That's a brilliant thing to leave us with there, Alison. That's really sums everything up and why we're actually talking about it in the first place. So thank you. So we have put Alison's email address and also a link to her Calendly in the events page if anybody wants to get in touch with Alison. I just want to thank everybody for joining us. That half an hour, of course, has gone very quickly. There is so much that we could talk about sales. So I hope that's been useful for everyone, certainly as a starting point. I know it has for me, lots of light bulbs. So thank you very much again, Alison. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And until next time, I shall see you then. Bye for now.
Bye.